Morning Legends, first test package to make sure that when I send a package, it doesn't end up like in Zimbabwe or something. I don't know, unless it's supposed to go to Zimbabwe. Otherwise, it should definitely go where I want it to go. I'm doing this first so that I make sure that everything works, and then we'll be fully sending these hats. Hopefully they all just sell out like crazy, and then, you know, I don't have to stress out anymore. But today we're talking about VO2 Max and how to get a higher VO2 Max and why it's probably not even worth doing lots and lots of VO2 Max workouts. We're going to get to that all today whilst I'm working and doing packages and all that shit. All right, cool. All right, hopefully that goes to the right place. Now, I want you guys to let me know in the comments below is what VO2 Max workouts you do, what your favorite ones are, and how you know that they're actually at VO2 Max. Those are some really important questions. Time for me to get the fuck to work, make a living, and just have fun. See you guys soon. Okay, so first of all, what even is VO2 Max? Well, it's the amount of oxygen that your body can deliver to the muscles that are actually working. And so it's really determined by how much blood you have, active blood that can store oxygen, and how big your pump is, your heart. So if you want to have a higher VO2 Max, you need to have good blood values, a high hemoglobin, high red blood cell count, and a big, strong heart. So before we even talk about any kind of workouts or anything like that, we have to understand that VO2 Max is a relative value to your body weight. And so you can make big changes to your VO2 Max just by improving your body composition. You can go from like, you know, some sort of hypothetical number and drive it up by like 4 points just by losing 4 or 5 kilos if you actually are able to lose 4 or 5 kilos. That is very, very interesting and very, very important. But grapes also improve your VO2 Max. That's for sure. Another thing that can improve your VO2 Max without having to do specific VO2 Max workouts is just volume over time. How big is your training history? How much do you run or cycle or swim or whatever? It's so, so important to have that massive training history to get a massive VO2 Max. There's no one on earth that has this crazy VO2 Max that hasn't had a whole entire life of really hard training. Another thing to understand is that genetics play a big role in hemoglobin levels and VO2 Max. Some people don't do any training at all and have an amazing VO2 Max, but because they haven't developed the efficiency that comes as well from training, they just can't utilize it for anything other than, you know, just some test on a treadmill. And so there's this idea that basically what you can do, this is kind of idea that you can pull your fitness up from above or you can push it up from below. So the pulling up from above is VO2 Max. You're pulling your fitness as hard as you can by increasing that capacity and that ability to deliver oxygen to those muscles, but you can build it from below and push it up by getting more efficient. So this mitochondrial efficiency is so important for training. Why am I so dark? Oh, I'm in auto mode. There we go, that's better. So you should only really be doing VO2 Max workouts if you've already built a massive base, you have a good training history, and your threshold levels are at a good point where you have, I got dirt all over my fingers. So you really only should be worrying about VO2 Max once you have that mitochondrial efficiency that takes a lot of time to build up from, you know, base building, doing threshold workouts, all that kind of stuff. Because if you don't have efficient mitochondria, you can have like a VO2 Max of 90 or whatever, and it doesn't do anything. It's just potential to get fit. That's all VO2 Max is, potential to get fit. But it's pretty interesting stuff anyway, isn't it? Okay, so what is VO2 Max intensity? Well, essentially, VO2 Max is when you're hitting the ceiling of your oxygen delivery to the muscles. So the intensity would be at that ceiling. So what you would do is structure your workout so that you hit that ceiling get that, heart response where your heart's getting stronger and all that kind of stuff, and then have a rest, let the heart rate come right back down, and then pick it back up, hit that ceiling, come back down, hit that ceiling, come back down. It's very, very simple, actually. Now, the issue with doing exercise at VO2 Max is that it's incredibly fatiguing. Think about this, right? The amount of lactate that you build up doing VO2 Max workouts is 4 times more than if you were to do a threshold workout, which is pretty insane. That is a lot of fatigue and a lot of processing that this body has to do. And it's a lot of soreness the next day. So we have to be very, very careful in what we do and how we get this VO2 stimulus. So the idea is we get in, we hit that ceiling at that heart rate, and then we drop it off. And generally speaking, the rest times are around 100% of the interval time. So say you're doing a 2-minute effort, the break would probably be around 2 minutes also, to let that heart rate come back down and let that fatigue get cleared out. Now, I can't tell you what your VO2 Max workouts are necessarily going to look at in terms of pace. It's very, very tricky. For myself, they were around, when I was super fit, if my 5K pace was around a 3:29 per K, my VO2 Max workouts were probably going to be slightly faster than that. So probably around 3:20s to 3:25. So they're slightly faster, because if you think about it, in a 5K, when you first start running, it's actually not that hard for at least the first K and a half, 2Ks, which means that you're not quite hitting your VO2 Max. So we have to bump up the speed ever so slightly, which means that, we can get some quality work in with long rests, and maybe we have to underload the volume a little bit so that we're not cooking ourselves beyond belief. We don't want to be more sore from a VO2 Max workout than if we did a flat out 5K. So what we do is we drop the volume to anywhere from 10 to 12 minutes. That's usually the golden spot for any kind of VO2 Max work, where you can get in, get lots of work done, have some rest periods, and then 10, 12 minutes of quality works, faster than 5K-ish pace. That's me personally. It might not be for you. Hard to say. And then we're good. We can go home happy. We can tell everyone that our VO2 Max is like gone up on our fucking Garmin's and Coros, even though they literally just use a weird algorithm that is completely... But who gives a fuck? Because we can tell everyone that our VO2 Max is higher than Eliud Kipchoge's on our Garmin, because that's the most accurate. Who cares what I say? Oh, it's too hot for this shit. What's that behind your ear? Oh, thanks. Okay, so these workouts are going to be in order of difficulty and level of runner talent, I guess, because some people are going to do really well on these and some people are going to really, really struggle, especially on the harder ones in terms of the rest times and the intensities of the reps. But the first one is super easy. 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off. Super easy. So this workout is pretty straightforward. All you're doing is 10 rounds of 2 minutes at 5K pace-ish with a 2-minute walk break or a standing break if you feel like standing. This is pretty straightforward. Nice and short and sharp session. The idea is that the rest to run ratio is 1:1. So you can get your heart rate up really high and then let it ease back off. But the pace isn't super brutal just yet because it's just a beginner VO2 Max workout. You got to build yourself up. Okay, next one. Okay, here is another favorite session and a little bit harder than the initial one. So it's 10 times 90 seconds at a 9 out of 10 effort. So not quite sprinting up the hill, but pretty close for 90 seconds. What we're gonna do is when we get to the top of the hill or at 90 seconds, we're gonna turn around, jog back down at a controlled pace. And then once we get to the bottom, to the starting line again, we're gonna do a 10-second standing break, okay? So we're gonna let that heart rate come right back down and we're just gonna try and extend the effort a little bit, kind of have a bit of a broken recovery with that jog down. It's gonna be anywhere from 9 to 12 minutes of volume, depending on how fast you actually jog down the hill. What I would usually do is I would go up at a really hard pace and I would jog back down and I would try and keep it at what my flat road easy run pace is, so that it still works the quads and it just helps your body to get better at recovering very, very quickly. That's what it's all about, hitting the top of that, VO2 max area, hitting the top and then letting it drop back down, hitting the top, letting it drop back down. This is just a nice progression before we get into some really fast reps in workout 3. Okay, level 3 of these VO2 Max workouts. So workout 3 is going to be 5 times 1K. And this 5 times 1K, we're going to try and aim to go at least 5 seconds per kilometer faster than our 5K pace. If you are a little bit of a slower athlete, maybe your 5K race pace is like 5 minutes per K, for example, then you can probably drop it down by 10 or 20 seconds to get that same boost in speed and boost in VO2 max. We're going to do a 90-second walking break after that. So like I said, that volume is going to be anywhere from 20 to 25 or 30 minutes worth of volume. The reason why it's 20 to 30 minutes of volume is that it takes quite a bit of time, if you're doing a 1K repeat at 5K pace, to get your heart rate up into that VO2 max zone. And then what you do is you have a 90-second break and then you go back in. So out of that 20 to 25 minutes, there's probably only about 10 minutes where you're really hitting the top of that VO2 max roof. So it's a nice way to overload your body and get yourself better at running up 5K pace and getting a good, hard 5K workout in. Sick. Okay, the next workout, and probably my most favoritist workout ever, and one that I think I created at some point. I don't know if I copied it off anyone. I can't remember. I think I created it, but workout 4 is 3 times 1K, 400, 400. So the 1K portion is at 5K pace, and the 400 meter portions are at 3K pace. If you don't know your 3K pace, it's going to be maybe 5 to 10 seconds faster per K than your 5K pace, depending on your fitness. But you'll figure out pretty quickly if it's the right pace or not, because we're going to only do a 1-minute rest between every single rep. That means between the 1K, the 400, 400, and then back on the 1K again, the 3 rounds, all just have 1 minute standing rest. So we're going to hit that roof and then only give it a minute to drop back down. So it's going to be a nice overload for the body just to really get that heart working super hard. Okay, I don't know the volume of this workout because it really depends on how fast you're running the reps, but it's going to be anywhere from like 10 minutes to 15 minutes worth of work. This is such a good workout. I love it. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Remember, VO2 Max is not only genetic, it also really relies on a long training history and your blood values. If you don't have enough blood, active blood, like hemoglobin containing red blood cells, you're not going to be able to increase your VO2 max. So get that checked first and then start doing hard workouts. I'll see you guys tomorrow. See ya.